Doom: The Dark Ages is coming soon in its glorious metal symphony of bullets, death, and demons crushed by the shield that Doomslayer is throwing left and right. Thanks to the advanced media access, I finished the game early, and I have to tell you, even though this game is more accessible than ever, it can give you hell if you wanted to. id Software made some great choices, and a few disappointing ones, and now let me tell you all about it. I'll try to be short because I'm sure there are lots of reviews coming in today, and you might want to watch some more than just this one. Let's begin. This game is a third game in the modern series of Doom games, although it serves as a prequel to the one from 2016. While that game made a lasting impression on many players, Doom Eternal that came afterwards had as many fans as it had its critics, mainly because movement and combat in Eternal required a lot of jumping and dashing, and there were numerous puzzles requiring soaring through the skies, unlike we'd expect Slayer to do. But I have to admit, I liked Eternal more than Doom from 2016. It was more digestible for me, and it was another step in gameplay evolution, fixing some things that I didn't necessarily like previously. The Dark Ages went in a very different direction, making sure that the ground combat is heavy, very meaty, there's hundreds of enemies to be killed, and all of that with a satisfying arsenal of weapons. Ahead of release, Bethesda kept using the phrase that in this game, Slayer will be more like an unstoppable tank, and I definitely couldn't agree more. The character we control feels really grounded, every step Slayer takes is a huge stomp with a really heavy sound design. The character isn't as swift and nimble as in Eternal, but at the same time it proves to be more menacing. If we jump from a high enough place, a shockwave of our landing will instantly kill smaller enemies. Melee combat, that is now much more than just glory kills, feels more satisfying than ever. There's actually 3 melee options that we unlock gradually as we go: a power gauntlet with which we begin that allows for chaining combos with up to 4 hits if you upgrade your skills enough. Then there's a flail that feels much more satisfying, and you've seen it in our preview of the game. And then there's something I think called a death mace, which is much slower and it can be used only once before it's recharged, but the damage it deals is enormous and you get a lot of ammo from it as well. There are still melee pickups on the map, similarly to what we had with sword charges in Eternal, but melee recharges on its own as well, so you'll be using this much more often. Glory kills are now changed for the executions with the melee weapons, and they feel much more connected. They don't take you out of the combat as much as they used to. But what makes all the difference is the shield. Even though you can say it's like Captain America fighting demons, it's not. Captain America would definitely get PTSD seeing what we can do in this game. It's much more bloody, full of gore, decapitations, and also magic. Slayer can throw around his shield to instantly kill smaller demons, while throwing it at a bigger enemy gets it stunned for a longer while. The shield automatically comes back to our hand after some time, but if you have it lodged in a bigger demon, you can make it return on your own. As you progress through the campaign, you will unlock different runes for the shield, meaning blocking proper enemy attacks with this shield will not only potentially stun an enemy or deflect their attack back at them, but there's also a secondary effect that can range from launching ethereal daggers at random enemies to having auto turrets show up for a while to add some additional damage on top of what you're already doing with your super shotgun. I initially expected that the shield would require me to be more defensive, but I couldn't be more wrong. While it is a defensive tool, it is equally dangerous as any other weapon in your arsenal, either when thrown or when you use it to charge at the enemy. This is honestly a ballet of death with the options that the shield gives you now. Making Doomslayer carry a shield was a damn good idea. Weapons that you have at your disposal are a really fun and creative selection of things that hurt demons. What I really liked is that while you unlock following weapons, they all belong into a certain class. I mean, there's always 2 weapons within the same class. You have a combat shotgun and a super shotgun. There's one type of school crasher that has very wide range of shooting, and the other one works more like a minigun that needs to achieve speed and time, but it shoots with a much lower spread, so it's better for a single enemy. And the coolest thing is that you don't have to have a dozen buttons to be able to switch between everything, because you just select a class of weapon from 1 to 6, and then with another button you can swap between weapons in this class. Obviously the game remembers your previous choice within that class. Or you can use a weapon wheel if you want to, but I like the new option that the game gave me. Just like you upgrade melee weapons and a shield, you also upgrade guns. The good thing is, with each upgrade, the gun feels more powerful and there are some choices while upgrading your guns as well, so you have some kind of customization. However, the more powerful your guns get, the less you feel the need to swap to other weapons. Even though at first a chain shot was a good way of dealing with armored enemies, in time I favored one of the skull crashers thanks to its constant replenishing of ammo when killing enemies and really nice damage. I don't think I've ever used a grenade launcher and a rocket launcher apart from the moment I got them to test them out. There is just no need to swap between the guns that often. Oh, and there is obviously a BFG in this game, but with a twist, though I will let you discover that on your own. All in all, I'm happy with the options that the game gives me, but I felt the further I got and the more upgrades I put into my guns, the less I needed to juggle my tools of destruction in combat. For some that's good, but others won't like it, because if you have a lot of weapons, you might want to use lots of weapons. Luckily, you do have a range of weapons to choose from, so I'm sure you'll find something you like. Gunplay in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the way weapons feel, the way they sound, the damage you see them do on various types of enemies. You don't expect anything less from id Software, and luckily they delivered on their promise. A great combination of heavy feeling damage with proper pacing of animation, sometimes slowing it down when necessary, makes for an amazing show to watch. But while ground combat is absolutely fun, there are instances when the game wants to take you out of the regular ways of killing and puts you in an Atlan, one of the huge mechs you probably saw in the games previously, or you get to fly on the back of a cyber dragon. And while on paper these things sound good because they help with pacing of the whole game, and they are pretty cool, the execution of this is rather poor. When it comes to an Atlan, it all boils down to walking forward and punching enemies with a single attack in order to build up a special attack that works as a high damage finisher on most enemies. Every now and then you get a gun that you supercharge by dodging enemy titans attacks, but it's nowhere near as fun as shooting regular enemies. While it's nice for a while to walk as this giant mech, it quickly gets disappointing by the shallow idea for this section. And then there's the cyber dragon. While flying around, especially with boosters on, feels fun and kind of natural, as soon as you get into the assault mode, which means you get stationary with auto aim on enemy turrets, it gets really boring really fast. Once again, you need to supercharge your attacks by dodging with proper timing, and then you just take down a shield on enemy turrets and then the turrets themselves. The levels made for both the Atlan and the Cyber Dragon are pretty simple and not really creative, so it gets old pretty quick. It's disappointing when you compare how normal combat in this game works, how fun it is all the time, how creative it is, and then these levels should be a way of giving you a break, but instead you're just dying to get back into normal ground action. Speaking of level design, the game changed its premise a bit. Now you have a mix of linear levels with semi-open world maps where you can explore a lot to find hidden secrets. Generally, I feel like the mix is in a good place, although there were times when I got bored trying to uncover everything the map has to offer. Considering there are 22 chapters in the game in total, I think a bit less than a half of those have this open level design. The variety in the atmosphere and design of the levels is really fun though. You do have very medieval levels, there are some horror-like Lovecraftian style maps you get to explore, and there's obviously stuff that references hell. All of that is enjoyable to look at. Graphics wise, the game is maybe not the absolute top that you can get today, but it is a sight to behold nonetheless. I do feel like the performance of the game was not top notch, but I can't really provide you with detailed numbers, so I leave that to more tech oriented people. Either way, I felt like the frame rate was consistent for most of the time, but there were moments where my frames were cut in half, even though I played it on RTX 4090 and only in 2560 by 1440 resolution. Coming back for a second to the map design, I think the game got easier when it comes to looking for secrets thrown all around each location. One thing is that these secrets are easier to spot, but also the way the map provides information, it's pretty easy to quickly find what's where and what might be the route you need to take to get to that secret. I'm not a completionist, so I wasn't maxing out all the levels, but I was pretty surprised with how many secrets I managed to find just walking through the levels and killing enemies. And that thing was, I'll say it once again, a lot of fun. Killing demons, I mean. If you play Doom just for the fun of killing hordes of enemies, you'll be surprised at how much of the story the devs put into this game. I think this is the most story and lore heavy game out of the recent 3, and I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, the story is generally pretty interesting, there are some cool moments there, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of how this story is presented to the player. Cutscenes can be pretty boring at times, and there's a limited number of times you can look at the Slayer in his helmet looking into the camera or walking somewhere and find it interesting. So generally, I can say that I like the story, but not the storytelling. I think The Dark Ages shows, as is expected, that id Software focuses more on gameplay and not presenting story in an impactful way, though seeing how they rework things that don't work out that well in their games in the following installments, we might get a pretty good narrative told in a nice way in a Doom game at some point. Now, there was a lot of drama before the game got released about the accessibility options and the customization of what you can do. You know, the slider to set how long the parry window is, for example. I don't think that having these sliders is bad in itself. The thing is whether the game still offers a challenge if you want it to be challenging, or whether it is dumbed down for the sake of being more accessible to more players. Let's try to dissect it, but we need some context for this. I am not a hardcore Doom player. I usually go for Hurt Me Plenty, which is the default level of difficulty, and I enjoy the challenge that it gives me. I don't need to be a master at dodging and killing monsters in this game to have fun, and in both previous games, this level of difficulty offered some challenge while still being absolutely okay for me. Now, with Doom: The Dark Ages, I think the same level of difficulty got much easier than before. I wanted to complete the game on the same level as all the previous ones to have some kind of reference, and throughout the 14 hours that it took me to finish the campaign, I died once. This means that finding life sigils to have additional respawns after death was no use for me. So yeah, the default Doom experience got easier, more accessible to the players. However, the game still offers the challenge if you want it to be challenging. There are 6 levels of difficulty in total, the final 2 providing certain modifiers to Nightmare, but on top of that, the mythical sliders that you have in options can be used to crank up the difficulty even more. So yeah, I wouldn't hate on sliders being in this game and being able to customize something to make it easier, because at the same time you can use the same settings to make things more difficult for you. My advice is to try the game on the level you're comfortable with, but if you feel like things are too easy now, make sure to crank up the settings to something to still provide a bit more of a challenge. This game, after all, is the most enjoyable when it makes you sweat just a little bit. So, how fun is Doom: The Dark Ages? It's a lot of fun. It looks really good, story is okay, gunplay is absolutely amazing, and mowing hordes of demons with the weapons the game offers is top-notch. I think out of the 3 Doom games id Software released since 2016, this is my favorite one, and I didn't even used to like Doom games back in the day. Sound design complements the fun, although I have to say that music is pretty forgettable to me. Too bad Mick Gordon is no longer working with Bethesda, because his tracks were phenomenal. Now, as you've heard, I have some reservations about the game, but all in all, I was really happy with it. The game is coming out on May 15th, also available day 1 in Game Pass, but if you can't wait to start playing it, the Premium Edition gives you access 3 days early, although to be fair, I don't think there's any need to jump on it 3 days early for additional hard-earned dollars. Just wait till the 15th. However, if you really are interested in the story the Doom: Dark Ages is telling within the world of the Slayer, there are things to surprise you, and there are things that people might spoil you, so be careful when you browse the internet next week. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my impressions of the newest Doom. I hope it gives you a good enough picture to decide whether this game is something you'd like to play yourself. I talked to a few people who already finished the Dark Ages as well, and that includes a guy who put about 200 hours into Doom Eternal. Spoiler, he likes this game even more, so I at least expect another 200 on the clock in this game. Seems like id Software delivered yet another great shooter. Thank you for watching, take care.